you gotta pay attention to your audience.
Yeah.
If your audience isn't engaging a ton with your stories, then maybe stories aren't the best way to spend all your energy. A pro tip though actually is I recommend inserting hashtags into your Instagram stories. You can
Oh, hey! How's it going, everybody? Zander Fryer, CEO and founder of High Impact Coaching, here with Aaron Perez. We're doing this interview live with Aaron. Aaron's one of our lead generation and social media specialists at High Impact Coaching. I actually had to pull my chair up a little bit so that I could sit next to him and not seem so short because he's tall as shit. But Aaron, I'm really excited to go through a lot of things today with you around Instagram. Today we're going to be talking about how to generate 5 to 10 leads a week from Instagram, even if you don't have a big following. So Aaron, welcome, and excited to interview in front of everybody here.
Thank you, Zander. I think this has been the first time I've actually been out from behind the scenes.
Yeah, Aaron's kind of our secret weapon behind the scenes. We like to not tell people about him because if we tell too many people about him, they'd all just bother him way too much, and we don't want that. We want him to keep doing what he does best. But Aaron, I wanted to just kind of run through a little bit about your story, how you got into Instagram as a lead generation. Just how you got into Instagram to begin with, because I know when you and I first met a couple of years ago, you came to me just dude, Instagram. Instagram. And I was like, I know there's something there, but I don't know what. So I'd love to, for everybody to just understand, what attracted you to Instagram, a couple of years ago, and why is it such a hot platform?
Yeah, so it really just started with wanting to wake up early.
Yeah.
And as you know, there's a ton of motivational quote accounts out there. So I ended up starting one just like a bunch of the other people.
Yeah.
But really just used it to keep myself motivated, and at the same time just learning how the app actually works.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, about 80% of all the most viral content on all social media platforms is usually quote driven.
Yeah.
So if you guys have
inspirational
noticed,
quotes.
Yeah. And if you've noticed, that's what we sort of built our Instagram followings around, quotes, because who doesn't love quotes?
Yeah.
And
I think especially in this ADD world, right? It's quotes are just a quick hit of inspiration and motivation that can lift you up, but it's just so powerful. One quote can absolutely change your life at the same time. So I think that's so cool.
Definitely. And if you think about it too, right? As much as we'd love to sell you on things, right? The goal isn't to be salesy. And so in a way, right, quotes are clearly not salesy. They're just they're those feel-good type of quotes, and then every once in a while we'll throw a quote that might throw you a curveball, but it's with good intention.
Yeah, awesome, man. So let me ask you this: you got into Instagram, you've Malcolm Gladwell says 1,000 or 10,000 hours to become an expert. You've definitely put more than 10,000 hours of work into Instagram and understanding the platform. What is it about Instagram that drove you to Instagram versus, Facebook? And now you're an expert in Facebook and LinkedIn and everything, but, what is it that drove you to being an expert in Instagram first and foremost?
I would probably say the lack of distractions on Instagram I'd probably say that's probably the biggest
I don't think I've ever heard that before in my entire life. The lack of distractions on Instagram. What do you mean by the lack of distractions?
By that I really mean you're able to really especially
to me Instagram is just one big distraction.
Well, I'm comparing that specifically to Facebook.
To Facebook, yeah.
But
where you've got shit going on everywhere,
Exactly. And I mean, the real cool thing now with Instagram is because Facebook owns Instagram, right? They're making everything better, and the things that they messed up on Facebook, they're making sure they don't get repeated again.
Yeah. So Instagram is the younger, better looking, less complicated version of Facebook, basically.
Exactly, and they're only
the hot, sexy Facebook.
And they keep on adding features that are hot on other platforms. So they took all the great features from Snapchat, and I'm sure they're probably going to do the same. Great, add new features. What's blowing up TikTok, they'll probably do the same exact thing. Some of these, short viral music videos.
I do want to talk to you a little bit about TikTok as well, because we'll get to that in just a second, but. So sticking with Instagram, so it's simpler, it's less distracting, it's more linear. So let's kind of get in. Obviously, there's a lot of coaches out there that know that they can develop leads from Instagram. They just have no idea how, right? So people are telling them, oh, just put out content, just do this, just do that, right? Now we've consistently been able to bring in tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes even, I think, we got like 90 grand one month just from Instagram, right? And we don't even have big followings. Our high impact coaching following is like 10K, right? But we've been doing this even since we had it at like 1K. So if you were to give your maybe your big 3 tips for what somebody needs to focus on to start to generate leads on Instagram, what would you say?
Probably say that the first big thing that you want to pay attention to is making sure you're engaging with people who are on a similar level as you. So what I mean by that is you shouldn't be trying to engage with people who have, several thousand more followers than you. I would stick in that range where you're at. Now, the cool thing is on Instagram, about 90% of people have at less than 150 followers.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much good there. So I would say to start with, make sure, if you've got an account with 50 to 100 followers, I would not target anyone that has more than, I would say between 150 and 200 followers. So that's the first big thing, because all your rates for engaging with them, so if you're following them and commenting on their post, right, like you're going to have a better chance of them following you back if you're targeting people in a similar range as you.
Yeah.
And
so it really helps for growth if you're focusing in that same range as you.
Yes, and at the same time too, right? Like you're working on building your authority, and there's this belief on Instagram that if you have a lot of followers, you're really good at doing your job. Even though that's not true, you don't want to fight that tide.
Yeah.
So that's why I recommend you stay in your range.
Yeah.
And it'll really serve you well doing that.
Yeah, I think that's a really funny. It's a really funny stigma that you bring up, and I do want to kind of hit on this for a second before we get into the other two lessons. I've seen this a lot. I've seen people on Instagram with 100,000 followers that are not making any money or aren't good at their job at all. They just have a lot of followers, maybe because they post great butt pics or something like that, right? Like, I think I post pretty good butt pics, but apparently they're not good enough. What are your thoughts on that stigma that people have around, like, especially in Instagram? It's so great to get likes and comments and follows, but it's not always, those likes and comments and follows doesn't always translate to income. What's your take on that?
Well, the big thing now is, right, they're hiding all the likes now on Instagram. So you
can't even see who's the number of likes anymore.
No, you can only see the number of comments.
Wow.
Which leads me to my next point, right? Like really making sure that people are not just liking your post, but commenting, right? Like that'll give you the next edge on, getting more engagement and authority, right? And really the big thing is, right, like you want to make sure like these people are ideal clients, right? And the big thing is if you're just getting all these likes, it'll probably, it's going to your head, it's getting you excited, but not in the right ways, right? Like, so, it leads me to my next big point is you should be focused on opening up a certain amount of conversations a week if you want to be able to consistently generate leads from your business.
Yeah.
Because people aren't going to come to you. People still don't come to us, and we've got thousands of followers. So there's really no chance that you're going to get people consistently reaching out to you.
Yeah, I think that's something really important for everybody out there to understand. I want everybody to kind of soak this in for a second, because I think we've all been inundated with this belief because of like the online marketing boom that like you go put a blog out and everybody comes in and wants to buy your $97 ebook. You go on Instagram and you put a couple of pieces of content out and everybody's going to want to buy your coaching services. But it's just not true. It's like 100% not true, right? And so what you're saying is like you actually need to go out and connect with people. You got to put some legwork in. Is that right?
Exactly. And you want to connect so good that they feel bad if they don't respond to you.
Yeah.
And when you do that enough consistently, you'll be able to open up as many conversations as you need, to hit those, 4 or 5 leads a week.
Yeah. But there's one thing. So I do want to hit on this. Like, do you want to be that person that just like copy paste spam punches everybody? Because like, I see that all the time. There's like, it'll be, someone selling essential oils or something like that, right? Like they're just copy pasting, blasting everybody like, hey, thanks for following me. Like, check out my essential oils list on this website, right? Like, it's not about that, right?
No, and a really good insight about that is if you notice all those messages that show up in your message requests, or even people that follow you, you'll see 2 different types of messages. One that's a really long message, right? And if it's not broken apart, then it's a bot.
Yeah.
And then the other one where it's a 1-sentence message saying, thanks for the follow back. Or thanks for the follow.
Yeah.
So the big thing that I want you to like keep in mind is, right, like those are bots, right? And the goal is
don't be a bot.
Don't be a bot.
That's the goal. Don't be a bot.
The big goal though is to sound as human as possible, as early as possible in the message that you send to them.
Yeah.
So it could be, including their name or the day of the week in the first message. You've got to get them hooked.
Yeah.
In the first message.
One of the things that I talk about, right, is like in a connected world, right? Instagram has connected the world. Like you can DM like anyone famous right now. I've had conversations with multiple different billionaires on Instagram just because I reached out to them and started a conversation with them. Like people don't realize how easy it is to connect with people on Instagram right now. But in a connected world where we can connect to anyone like that, we're more disconnected than ever, right? And it's because people are not remembering the human aspect of it, like actually building a connection with someone, actually building a relationship with someone. But when you take the time to start to build a relationship and understand them, you're opening up your possibilities like we've never been able to before at any point in human history when it comes to building a business online.
Definitely.
Right? So quick question for you from a content perspective. What are the most important things? I think everybody gets confused around a content perspective. What do I post on my feed? How often should I post? What do I post in my stories? What about IGTV? What's going on there? That's supposed to be the YouTube killer. What about IG Live? Like, what are your thoughts from a content perspective on Instagram, and what's important and what's just not?
Well, step one with all that is you got to listen to your audience, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think people.
If you're posting shit that doesn't connect, that's probably one of the biggest problems I see is people post shit that doesn't connect with their audience.
Exactly, and I mean, how many of you right now, listening to this, actually check their analytics on their content? Ooh, right?
Do you check your analytics? Go ahead and comment below, yes or no. Do you check your analytics on your content, on your comments to find out what's actually connecting? I think that's a great question. Yeah.
Yeah, and so really getting a sense of what works for you and what doesn't is the first step. Now, like, even just taking a step back from that, right? Like, should you even be on Instagram to begin with? Yeah. I think that's, something that a lot of coaches think that they need to be on Instagram because it's the best platform right now, right? When in truth, they might, they probably should be focusing on other areas like Facebook or LinkedIn, right?
Interesting.
So I would say step one, right, is like making sure your audience is on the platform. Step two is listening to your existing audience, right? And then step three is figuring out like a content schedule that you're able to consistently deliver on. I think the big thing is like consistently deliver on. A lot of people, they have this plan, right, but then they realize it's too much. You really want to get your content familiarized to your to your regimen, right? Like a lot of people.
So consistency rather than like trying to hit these crazy numbers.
Exactly. People will expect to see your content at a certain time. right? They might not know it like consciously, but subconsciously they're probably, looking to see, what did Zander post? You know, they're looking. So if you stick to consistent time, right, like that'll help you get those early likes and, on when you post. So then that could spike the engagement and get you more of of an organic reach on the platform. So really like the consistency is the biggest thing. In terms of areas to focus on, I definitely recommend leveraging IGTV as much as possible.
Why is that?
Well, just for the sole reason that still not a lot of people are using it.
Yeah.
And so you're going to get more of an organic reach that way versus Instagram stories.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend...
And Instagram is pushing it. Like, they want more of it. So if you do what Instagram wants and the algorithm favors, you get favored.
Exactly. And so I recommend doing at least 2 IGTV preview videos a week on your feed, along with
How many do we do right now, by the way?
We're doing at least 4 a week now.
Okay, cool. Just making sure we're doing good there, man. I gotta check an ass.
But then as far as Instagram stories go, I would say is like you gotta pay attention to your audience.
Yeah.
If your audience isn't engaging a ton with your stories, then maybe stories aren't the best way to spend all your energy. A pro tip though actually is I recommend inserting hashtags into your Instagram stories. You can actually hide those as well. I would do a Google search. There's a couple articles around that, but you could basically like put a list of hashtags and then you could cover them up with like different types of icons and stuff.
Like an icon or a smiley face or something.
Over them. That'll be another way to like boost your engagement on your stories.
Have you told Christine that?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm learning myself right now, guys. Just making sure. Beautiful. That's really helpful. What about IG Lives? Is that a big thing? Should we be doing? Should people be doing it? Should everybody be doing it, or is it just kind of like a every now and then sort of thing?
Yeah. So I recommend at least leveraging one of those every month. Ideally, the more often the better. I wouldn't go more than once a week, and I would leverage those for the main thing actually would be social proof. So if you've got a client interview, right, you can do an Instagram live split screen with them.
That's a great idea.
To interview them, right? So leveraging that social proof, which is something extremely important for coaches who have a smaller following or are looking to grow their following even more because you need that authority.
Do that? Yeah, could you do that with other like colleagues in your space to kind of grow your following as well? Like,
definitely, I would say more so though to like just showcase your expertise, right? Because like, truth is, you probably won't get a ton of followers from it unless your colleague's a huge influencer,
right?
But like, what are the chances of them doing that with you?
Yeah.
But I would say, definitely leverage that to showcase your expertise. And then the other, Instagram Live that you can leverage, now you could do Q&As on Instagram Live. So that's like a new feature that's come about in the past couple months.
We're going to do that soon. Don't worry, friends.
And then
Q&A on Instagram Lives. It's coming.
And it's a easy way to basically, get questions from your audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. What would you say... I think that should really help everybody with content. What would you say are some of the biggest mistakes that people make on Instagram, especially when they're first starting off, trying to lead generate on Instagram? What are the biggest mistakes they make?
I would say number one is thinking that they have to buy an account. A lot of coaches will go that route and buying an account or buying fake followers. And that really serves you no purpose because you're never going to get organic reach.
Yeah.
Even though the reach continues to go down on Instagram, there's no reason to buy, fake followers because it's really going to hurt you long term.
Yeah, and we've heard that happen to a lot of people. We've had clients in the past that like come to us. They're like, Zander, I did a bot and now my reach is like complete shit or something. Like, yeah, my account went from 700 to like 4,000, but I'm not reaching anybody, and they're all like random accounts in like middle of somewhere in Asia or middle of Africa somewhere, right? And it's like these aren't my ideal clients, and it basically like completely tanks their entire Instagram, right? So you suggest staying away from that entirely.
Staying away from that entirely, and then other big thing is don't spend an insane amount of time creating content, especially if you're not getting results from it. You know, that's one thing, right? Like, you know, you hear some coaches spending hours a week creating content when it's probably not serving them best.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. I hate seeing it, and it goes off of that other thing too, where a lot of coaches don't batch create content, so they're creating content daily, and they're spending at least 2 hours a day on content,
creating content, and they're not actually generating any leads,
or serving their potential clients that they could have had, leveraging their time better.
What, anything else that you think people are just completely doing wrong when it comes to Instagram?
Yeah, I would say hashtags.
Yeah.
Now, like a quick 101 about hashtags.
Somebody told me the other day that hashtags are dead.
Yeah, and we still get, I'd probably say around an extra 20 to 30,000 likes a month total from our posts just from hashtags.
20 to 30,000. Hashtags are not dead.
Yeah, and so the big thing about hashtags is you want to find hashtags that are local and small. So by that I mean between like 5,000 and 100,000 posts. So that means that they've been used by other accounts between 5,000 to 100,000 times.
But they're not like, the million hashtag thing where you're like fighting against all these other influencers that are posting on it. Exactly.
And so I recommend you putting your entire list with those smaller hashtags, and those hashtags should be your target audience should be engaging with them. And now you can actually see, right, like if your ideal audience is following a hashtag, all you need to do is find one profile that is following those hashtags, and then you could see which ones, and then you could add those to your list. So what I recommend is using the full 30 hashtags for each one of your posts and making sure that they're all within 5,000 to 100,000.
Yeah.
And not going above that. And you should definitely get more reach doing that. And the other big thing too is making sure you're including a location on all your posts, right? A lot of people don't put a location.
Yeah.
I don't recommend you put exactly where you live, of course, but
you shouldn't put your home address.
Yeah, but put
your social security, your mother's maiden name.
But put a location in.
Yeah.
And same thing with Instagram stories. So those are easy ways to just like boost your engagement, right?
Yeah. And your reach.
And your reach, yeah. And it's something that a lot of people overlook.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend you use it.
So I think Instagram's a great platform. It's been one of the pillars for our lead generation and our growth at High Impact Coaching for a while now. Say you're a starting coach. You're super fresh. You've got an Instagram. Let's say you've got an Instagram following of like 500 people or something like that, 400 people. If you start to pursue the right strategies, doing content consistently, doing the interviews with clients, things like that, following the hashtag list, opening up conversations genuinely with people to like actually build rapport with your potential clients, create that engagement and that intimacy. If you follow all these things, how many leads could you potentially be bringing in? Let's say like weekly or monthly, even with a small following like that.
Doing all those things, there's no reason why you can't generate between 4 to 5 quality leads a week.
Yeah, so 4 to 5 quality leads a week. So that'd be 20 leads a month if you're doing it properly.
Exactly, and I mean that to get 20 quality leads from Instagram organically, I mean how many leads would we need from a funnel, from a paid ad to get 20 quality leads?
And that's I'd say, like you mentioned, right? It's higher, like people when people go do webinar funnels, right? Like I couldn't tell you how many people I've worked with that do like a webinar funnel or a VSL funnel or opt into this funnel, like whatever it is, right? On average, they pay. Some people it's like $150 to $200 per application. Some people it's like $300 or $400 per application, right? So if you like actually multiply that out, that's a lot of money in leads right there that you could just do by hustling on Instagram rather than paying. And that's like a dialed in funnel. That's like a dialed in webinar funnel or a dialed in VSL funnel. So that's huge. Beautiful, man. Let's take it back to TikTok. TikTok, talk to me.
Well, it's pretty interesting. A lot of coaches are starting to get onto TikTok.
Yeah,
I find
I thought that TikTok was just 12-year-olds lip syncing and karaoke and dancing.
Well, no, I mean the crazy thing is like it's becoming like this gateway to leveraging your YouTube and your Instagram better.
Interesting.
So a lot of people are like, you know, directing traffic to Instagram and YouTube from TikTok, and because like basically the organic reach is at like 90%.
Yeah.
Versus like Facebook is really low. It's definitely, you know, below 20%. And
yeah.
then Instagram's right around between like 50 to 60%.
Yeah.
But TikTok's in the 90 percentile.
Yeah.
It's nuts. So the whole thing is, right, like a lot of people are able to go viral
really quickly, even with a small following.
Even with a small following, and then then all of a sudden they become like an authority figure overnight. And it's really interesting because like all you have to do, there's like the main hashtag is like for you, and then like get me viral and then go viral. There's a couple hashtags and people are just putting them on their videos, and then, you know, like literally some people overnight are just getting, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 followers.
Wow. So TikTok, guys, take a look at it. Maybe not too long of a look at it, but take a look at it. Any other last pieces of advice you would give everybody out there, you know, looking to generate more leads from Instagram that, you know, you could help them with some last tips?
I would say social proof. As much social proof as possible, and it actually starts with your bio. So however many clients you've helped, if you haven't helped a ton of clients, think about it from this way. So if you're a fitness coach, you know, maybe you've helped, you know, lose a combined, you know, 1,000 pounds of fat, right? The past year or something, right? So like leveraging your social proof, because that's like having that social proof clearly, you know, organized in your bio is what's going to help someone, you know, make the decision to follow you. Yeah. Right? And then that just becomes a snowball effect.
View you as an authority.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Awesome. Any last tips for everybody out there?
No.
Beautiful. All right, friends. Well, this is Aaron Perez, our resident social media expert over here. Hopefully that was really helpful for you guys. You know, Aaron, we're going to have a lot more from Aaron for you guys in the future. Aaron, thank you so much for joining me live in our High Impact Coaching headquarters here in Encinitas. For everybody out there that wants to catch these, interviews live, that's in podcast land right now, you can go ahead and go to zanderfryer.com/FB group to watch these interviews live in our free Facebook group. For everybody that caught this live, if you're interested in checking out our High Impact Coaching launch program, where we'll teach you how to generate 5+ leads a week on social media, plus enrolling those clients at premium prices, over the next couple of months, rather than trying to build your business over the next couple of years. You can go ahead and go to zanderfryer.com/apply, and we'll set up 15 minutes with you to really dig into your business, where it's at, and see how we can help. All right. Thank you guys. And thank you, Aaron.
Of course.
Beautiful. Chat with you guys soon.